Hi, it's Mike with AskTractorMike.com, and I'm speaking today with Kenny. And Kenny is Corporate Vice President, Sales Manager for S&H Farm Supply, and that's a dealership where I used to work. And Kenny, I'm sure the number one topic everywhere among dealerships right now and among corporations is the tariff situation. We've got a little breather here, a 90-day stay until final decisions are made. But what's going on in the dealership world and in the corporate world now regarding tariffs, and where do we go from here?
Well, in my world, which is highly related to the manufacturing world, it's been pure chaos. I mean, the first day that we got the tariff announcements, just shortly after the announcements, we started getting notifications from manufacturers that they were ceasing shipments. They weren't going to ship anything. They weren't going to invoice anything. They were just locked up. That was their initial reaction, is we just have to figure out what the environment's going to be. We have to figure out what the impact to us is going to be before we can pass it down the supply chain. And so that was the initial step. Soon after that, we realized, hey, parts have to move. Some things have to happen. So we started getting parts, and we started getting parts that had tariff surcharges on the invoices, and just various things that are challenging. How do you pass that along to a customer? If you have an automated pricing system, how do you go in and add a tariff surcharge to an invoice? And so manufacturers have been working hard to revise price tapes. We've had manufacturers that have supplied us just in 2 weeks with 3 revised price tapes, on parts pricing. and that's, can you imagine how many hours someone's spending trying to figure that out every day? And it's the total sole focus of these manufacturers. They've forgotten about product quality or innovation or efficiency in the shop or logistics. It's all trying to figure this out.
So if they stop shipment, what happens whenever the announcement was made? We've got a little breathing room here, 90 days to figure out where we're actually going to go. What's happening now?
Well, it was really simple. It's like throw open the gates and mash the throttle on the truck. We're going to put as many tractors on seafaring vessels. We're going to put as many things on rail, on truck. We're going to get machines from the factory to the dealer. We're going to invoice things. We have a known environment, and yes, there's a 10% blanket tariff. We can deal with that. That doesn't equate to a very large price increase on most whole goods, and so we're going to invoice things. We're going to ship them. We're going to get them to the dealer where we have a locked in, a known environment, and then hopefully we get a more stable environment before the next model year, the next pricing and ordering programs come around, and we at least know what we're dealing with.
So right now, every tractor that's at a factory that's not in the U.S. is trying to find its way across the border. Does that create an inventory situation on down the road that benefits the end user?
It creates an inventory situation that's not ideal for a dealer. It could have some advantage to a customer. I think if you look at the inventory and the market reports that we reviewed, you're probably talking about just making an already existing problem a little bit worse, or making it last a little longer. But it probably doesn't create a completely new situation. But it does put a bulge in there. You're going to have a lot of equipment that would have trickled in over time that comes in kind of all in a big outburst.
I don't think there's a chance that we'll ever see that inventory discounted. I always think about it as an end user. Why would I, how do I time? Because I get asked this on my YouTube channel all the time. When's the best time to buy? Well, the stuff that's on the ground now that was invoiced in late 2024, early 2025, we know the price on that. That's probably the cheapest it's going to be. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we said this a lot during the COVID era, and I didn't like it, but it was true. The one I have today is the cheapest one that I'm going to have for a while, and I think that's true. Once again, if you're a customer, a dealer, or a manufacturer, you don't have to be the wisest person in the room or a great forecaster to know that in the current environment, the next one that's produced is going to cost more than the one I have today. There's just no way around that situation that I'm aware of.
And I'd say people are doing this with cars too. If you need it, now's the time to buy it, get the inventory that's on the ground. And we've really not seen that, which is, and maybe they'll be reflected in the second quarter numbers, but it looks to me like what I've seen with sales, the sales have been lagging a little bit. And are you starting to sense with spring coming and people starting to get out that we're starting to see people turn loose of a little bit of money and come in, or is it still slow?
Yeah, oh, it's definitely picking up. And I don't think it's that people aren't going to buy. I think they are going to buy. I think they can. I think they have the ability to, and I think they have the desire to. But they are certainly not forecasting their intentions very well. So we don't know very far ahead of time when they're going to make a decision. And that's probably to most customers' disadvantage. If good dealers can serve you better if they have a little knowledge of what your intention is ahead of time. But customers are a little uncomfortable with that right now, and they don't want to forecast their intentions. And I think they'll buy. I think they'll buy right when they need it or right after they wanted it. And so it probably puts a little more pressure on us as dealers to get that out in a little more of a compressed time frame.
I want to talk about where tractors are built, and they're built all over. You have inventory on your lot right now from Korea, from maybe from Japan, from Europe, a lot of U.S. built stuff too, but a lot of it could be U.S. built with products that came from somewhere else.
Correct.
And I know I'm asking a question and everybody's asking, how does that, with all the tariff talk, and I don't want to get political, if you're a pro-Trump guy, you think he's on the right track, maybe it's a negotiating tool and all that. If you're anti-tariff, if you're a free market person, this is the worst thing that could happen. One thing about it has sure added a huge amount of complexity to the business.
It has.
I know the long-term desire is to get manufacturing back to the U.S., but I think about, all brands of small tractors under 40 horse, which is my main audience. There's 180 or 70, 90, 200,000 of them sold a year.
Right.
And you can't just put up a factory and start building those. And then if you did, do the engines get built? There's lots of components that come together, and the global market has enabled folks to, if Italy builds the best front axles, we get them from Italy. If Japan builds the best engines, we get them from there. Maybe we build the best something in it. So where do we go?
Yeah, I think if you want the best product for the least amount of money, a free market is the way to achieve that. Every nation has a competitive advantage in something, either labor, raw materials,
Energy,
transportation. There just aren't equals around the world. So when you talk about specifically the compact tractor side, you may have a tractor that has components from 15 different nations, 3 different continents. And so the question is, okay, what tariff applies? And today, this discussion is, okay, well, we don't want to put a blanket tariff on it because the components, some came from more trade-friendly nations, some came from less friendly nations, and we want to apply the most accurate tariff to achieve our goal of equalizing trade, right? That's the stated goal. And so it basically takes a spreadsheet to figure out what the components of the tractor are, where they came from, what the dollar value of them is, and then apply the correct tariff. And it's a big task.
in the auto world, it seems like it's worse. I don't think this happens as much in the tractor world, but you have components that are built in, say, the U.S. that go across the border to Canada, get value added, come back, and they go back and forth.
Correct.
And I don't know that's in the tractor business, but I do know COVID woke us all up to the fact that if you're missing, we talked about this during COVID, if you can't get the seat for the tractor, because it comes from somewhere they're not shipping seats, and that's the only place you can get a seat,
Right.
you might as well not have a tractor. So if you had all that production together, it would make the supply chain almost pandemic proof.
Yeah.
But can we even get there? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know that you could do that. It's just such a dynamic and volatile situation that I've never seen anything quite like it. And I don't know that anybody would be wise to try to forecast where this goes, which I think is what most people have developed I'm going to buy what I need when I need it. I'm not going to try to get ahead of that. I'm not going to try to put it off too long. But I'm certainly not going to over purchase, or if I need something, I'm thinking about developing a property or starting an operation a year from now. I'm certainly not going to buy anything now until I'm ready for it a year from now. And I think that's what we're seeing in the marketplace.
Last question, how does a dealer plan for the future with inventory, with like it is? Are you ordering stuff in to get it in at old price, or what do you do?
Well, we ask ourselves that question every day. And at the end of the day, we have to plan for an inventory where we think the market will be 6 months to a year from now when that product arrives. And so we're doing our due diligence trying to say, okay, what's the job market for our off-farm part-time farmers, for our rural recreational people, the people who are moving to the country? Do they see stable incomes? Do we see farm commodities largely being similar to where they are today? And so when we look at that, those factors all appear relatively stable. And so what we would say is we're going to shoot for a middle of the road market. We're not going to say it's going to be really good or say it's going to be really bad. There is some part of me that says, okay, I should jump out here and stockpile some additional inventory because it's priced advantageously to what's going to come. But then I think, well, I'm probably not going to sell that in a timely fashion. I'm going to hold it a little longer than normal. I'm going to pay interest on it. It's going to weather. I may have to discount it at that point in time a little bit. And so is there really any economic benefit captured by doing that? It may not yield the gain that you thought because of those risk factors. So
It's going to be an interesting year.
it's going to be an interesting year.
All right, thanks, Kenny. Appreciate you watching my videos. I would be honored if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can do that by clicking the mic face icon, and make sure you check the bell so you get notified when I post future videos. Here's a link to my website and the Tractor Fun Store with cool things for sale for the tractor owner that helps support my channel. And here's another couple of videos you might want to watch. Thanks for watching.